Pew, 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 pew.
Thought I wanted to save us, but I was stuck in the past. Messed me up, I wanted to hurt. Just give me something that lasts. I think you know what I'm made of, yeah. So when our mind is made, paint a picture in vivid color. Can't tell the black from the grays. You slow things down and clear my mind. It's like leaving a toxic friend behind. You say yes, and you don't make waves. I know you just said you know that I'll try. And I don't wanna hide or waste another life. Say no, and I will let go. I know you just said you know that I'll try. And I don't wanna hide or waste another life.
Hello, you lucky little rascals. It's freaking Thursday. It's the Sean Atwood channel, and it's Awaken with Beverly Rhodes. You lucky, lucky people. Okay. And we're joined today by Luke Eastwood. Is there a relation? Who knows? But we're going to find out. The Irish druid and author is going to take us on a little bit of a journey today. I just want to say to everyone in the side chat, how you doing? If you're getting ads, YouTube is at it. Okay. They're at it. It's something to do with us. They're at it. Please make sure you like, make sure you share, all that good stuff. But before we get the show on the road, Miss Beverly Rhodes, how are you? What has been going on the mothership this week? What has been going on in the realm of the Jedi Master? Fill us in. How are you?
I'm very well. Had a bit of a scary week with
Okay.
people asking whether they would like to turn my book that's on the market at the moment into a series or into a movie. So it was a bit of I never expected that to come, and I thought maybe one day, but I didn't think that soon.
Why is that scary? Why is that scary? I don't understand why is that scary.
Well, it's scary because I've never done anything like that before, so that's all new, which means there's going to be a lot of technology. Oh, the bane of my life.
Just make sure you sign a deal that's like, give me a percentage. I don't want to do anything. Right? That's it. That's all you need to do. Is say, yes, I would love to do it, but also I can't really be bothered doing anything. So I'll give you a 48-hour window where you can ask me all the questions, take everything out the book that you want. Beverly wants a check every year. Ka-ching. All right, that's how we do it.
Yeah, maybe that's an idea. They want all the other bits that were taken out of the book because, as you know, it was heavily edited and censored. So they want that as well. So yeah, that was this week. Oh my goodness me. So I don't know. We'll see. Watch the space. Otherwise, it's been a very, very nice week.
You got to whip out the mystical parts, Beverly. You know what I'm saying? It's time. The world is ready for the mystical missing elements of the book. But Luke, listen, thank you so much for being here. Before I actually start sounding like a professional person who can do an interview, introduce yourself to our wonderful, wonderful side chat. It's great to have you here, and thank you so much for giving up your time. Just give us a quick introduction. Just let us know who you are.
Okay, well, first of all, I thought I'd answer your question about whether it was a relation. I assume you meant Clint Eastwood, not Barney Eastwood.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, no, I'm not, but I have actually successfully conned a few people that I am because
hell yeah.
I know a few facts about his life and stuff because I'm a big fan of Clint Eastwood. So, you know, you just have to slip in 3 or 4 facts about him. And I said, oh, he's my uncle. And they were like, oh my God. And he knows all the stuff about him. It must be true. And then once I had them convinced, I then said, well, actually, I just made it up. He's not really a relative at all. But it was a bit of fun to try and So it would be great if I was related, but it appears not, unfortunately. So there you go.
Well, look, thank you so much for being here. And you know,
no,
I'm gonna
you want to know a bit about me rather than just that, I guess. Yeah.
Well, listen, we would, but listen, I'm gonna let you do your introduction. I'm gonna then sort of go on a little question journey here because I'm fascinated, and I know the side chat are going to be fascinated with hearing about what it means to be a druid, your journey, and all those things. But before you do that, please do continue introducing yourself.
Okay, well, I started out life in Scotland, in Aberdeen. And from a young age, I moved down with my family to England. And I was sort of raised as sort of a strange mixture of atheist and Catholic. I'm really quite confused about what I should or shouldn't believe. Anyway, yeah, I suppose I got sort of into spirituality quite a bit in my teens. And then at 15, my uncle introduced me to the teachings of the first Buddha, the Dharmapada, it's called, which ironically he stole from a hotel in Japan. So not a very Buddhist thing to be doing, but
right.
But anyway, he lent me this along with a little Buddha figure, and I lapped that up. I just was so blown away by that, and it was like nothing I'd ever come across. So don't think my parents were so impressed with that. But anyway, I had to give the book back and the little Buddha, but it left a big impact on me, and I thought, well, obviously there's more than one version of spirituality or religion out there. So I became more interested in different parts, looking at virtually everything: Judaism, Zoroastrianism, Islam, Hinduism, Jainism, everything you could think of, every ism you could think of, I had a look at it. Not so keen on the Moonies and the Scientologists, I have to say.
Do you think then, Luke, dialing it back, that moment where an alternative to the two that were being shoved down your throat in Ireland, I would imagine, do you think that without that catalyst, do you think that life would have been a lot different from you? It seems like that key moment where you discovered Buddhism and went on this spiritual journey. Do you think it was almost the fact that a family member was handing this book over that took down the walls that had stopped you previously from exploring spirituality? Do you think it was?
Well, maybe. You see, at 15, you're kind of I was sort of a bit late, sort of getting to puberty, and I'm only just sort of getting into it then. And I suppose I started to question a lot of things, as all teenagers do. And so it came along at a very apt moment, I think, for me. And it just opened my mind to a whole load of different possibilities that I wasn't going to get from 100%. Well, in truth, from anybody else in the family. He was a bit of an oddball, you could say,
right?
In a nice way, but
of course,
it just removed these sort of blinkers, if you like, I suppose.
100%. It was
opened me up to all kinds of possibilities.
Positive reinforcement.
Yeah, it was. I think it was a very positive moment in my life. I couldn't say what would have happened if it hadn't happened. I mean, who knows? Maybe I would have ended up in the same place, but later on.
Of course. But, I mean,
think about life. There's so many moments in your life which are crossroads, and you don't know it until afterwards. And I think one of the things with the spirituality in the pre-Christian era, people were more aware of these things, portents, omens, and they would have an awareness about key moments in life in advance sometimes. Whereas I think in the modern world, you just kind of sail through life, and a lot of people, you can't tell the difference between what's just cornflakes and what is like a life-changing decision for you. And I think intuition, if you're able to use that, does tell you these things, that this moment now is really important, as opposed to just me making the tea or whatever, or meeting a random stranger and shaking their hand. That could be nothing, or it could be like a vital moment that's going to change your life forever.
Yeah. Do you think the finer nuances and subtleties of magic and signs are lost on the modern age because of how frantic and busy we all are, and how it is? Because I often say, Luke, that Hollywood ruined average person's perception of magic. You're not going to see the lightning balls and the fireballs and the levitating on daily life. It's much more subtle. It's a breeze in the wind. It's a leaf falling. It's, a noise occurring. It's very subtle.
Yeah, I think you're right. I totally agree with that. I think when I first became interested in occultism or magic or esoteric arts or whatever, I was, my mind was polluted with the Harry Potter type idea of what it should be. And of course, then that leads to immediate disappointment. And a lot of people just give up then because they think, it doesn't work. But I was lucky and I met some people who kind of were more realistic about things. And I understood that, and from the stuff I've read as well, that these things take time and effort and energy and perseverance. Most people, I'd say, probably 99% of people have latent abilities they're unaware of, which can be developed. Some people have it there right on the surface, ready to go, straight off. And some people have an amazing talent for ESP or whatever with no training whatsoever. But it's one of those things that I think anybody can develop that with time and effort. But it's like anything. Like, do you remember how hard it was to ride a bike when you were like 4 or 5?
Yeah, do you know, the bike analogy is odd because you do go from not being able to ride a bike for weeks to riding a bike in about 4 seconds once it happens. You know, it's an odd one.
I can't ride a bike.
I think it's like that with magic. It works. The first time it works. Sorry, but I didn't hear what you said.
I said I can't ride a bike.
Need the training wheels.
You can make people fall over with your mind and find people. Okay, you can do without the bike. All right, you can do without the bike. You'll be okay. You'll be okay.
Yes, I'll do without the bike too.
Although I would quite like to get a bike now and teach you to ride a bike and for you to have that moment.
Beverly Roads has no balance. I just fall right off. I will.
Put one in the side chat. One in the side chat for the Beverly Roads School of Cycling with Ron Swanson for this summer. One in the side chat right now. Think of her wee face. Think of her wee face.
Wee face hitting the tarmac. No,
I'm doing it. Oh, look at her go, guys.
I had a lot of trouble myself learning. I'm left-handed.
Okay.
Very sorry.
Kitog, as to say here in Ireland, but I couldn't turn right. I think it was. Yeah, I could turn left, and every time I tried to turn right, I crashed. And this happened over and over, and it took me a long time to be able to learn how to turn right.
Yeah, so, I just want to say, if you or any other left-handed people that you know are affected by leftism, please support Luke and all of the people like him at lukeleft-handed.net, where you can support other poor left-handed. And I just want to say, the poor guy's trying to use scissors his whole life, made for right-handed people. It's a goddamn hypocrisy. Okay, it's a goddamn hypocrisy. Luke. Okay,
they now have. And they have all the scissors. If you go buy scissors now, you can't buy those molded ones anymore. They're all like the same, both sides. So they changed that. But yeah, when I was a kid, trying to use right-handed scissors was so hard, you know?
Yeah.
Nearly impossible, like, you know? Oh, thank you. I've seen that comment. Thank you. But
I'm glad you've seen that.
Yeah, you were saying like things like magic is there for some people, like straight off, it's in their life. They're born that way. And other people, it's something that you really have to work on. That, you know, in some cases, it takes months, even maybe a couple of years, even before, you know, you develop your abilities to the point where you can practically do anything with it.
Right.
So,
I agree.
I think it's misleading people when they're thinking it's going to be like Hogwarts or, you know, I'm trying to think of all these magical series and things like Lord of the Rings and what's it called? Game of Thrones. You've got all these magical elements in it. It's totally misleading, I think, you know.
Well, listen, you know, it's almost by design, right? Because we've been preconditioned for thousands of years to pick one of 3 religions, to banish witchcraft, to ignore anything that isn't explainable by science or these religions. We have to ask ourselves, are we looking at the hidden knowledge of the 1% that control it all? We're not going to get into it now. Luke, I'm side questing. So if you don't mind, I'm going to fire some questions at you, Luke, because I am fascinated. And I'd like to get as many questions done as we can. So if you have the Cliff Notes version of some answers, feel free to do so. Okay. First of all, tell us what it is to be an Irish druid. What is being a druid? What is druidry? If you forgive my terminology, can you just give us
a okay? That's a modern term, druidry. It's another word is druidism.
Druidism,
older. But I think it depends. That answer to that is it depends where you live. I mean, I'm not born in Ireland, but most of my times learning about being a Druid has been in this country since when I first came here in 1991, I think, and then I moved here permanently in 1999. So I've been here ever since. So I kind of discovered Druidism sort of pretty much by accident, I suppose. I was reading about Celtic mythology and all that stuff, and I knew about Arthur and all that kind of thing, and everyone's heard of Merlin, so I thought it was interesting, but it hadn't really occurred to me that there was actually a modern Druid movement. And so early mid-90s I got sort of interested in that, and then I came across a few people. There was a guy in Glastonbury called Rollo Morfling, and I remember reading about him in a magazine in I think about 1994. And I thought, gosh, yeah, wow, there's actually people really doing this. So I started thinking, right, I'd like to learn what this is and how to do it. Up to that point, I'd read stuff about, Hermeticism. I didn't really know anything about the Druids apart from history books, So I went off, trying to pick up things, and I discovered this book in a window of a bookshop on the way to work called The Book of Druidry by a guy called Ross Nichols. So I thought, oh wow, I've got to get that. That looks interesting. So I ran back at lunchtime, and it was the only copy. I bought it, and it was exactly what I wanted. It had all this sort of almost like a manual, if you like, and explained a lot of the concepts about what Druidism is and what its purpose is. And it was too advanced for me, really, at the time. So I read it and didn't understand all of it, but it kind of gave me this appetite, and then I started down this long path, because it's really a never-ending journey. It's like I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. If you train to be a doctor and you get your degree, you don't just clear off and that's the end of it and go and sit on the beach the rest of your life. Once you've trained, then it's the job is then to be a doctor. And that's the real thing. The training is just getting there, and so you can become competent and actually not kill people or whatever, Well, that's the idea. Of course, obviously modern medicine, there's many problems in that, you could say, but the idea of it is, this long process of studying Druidism is that you then kind of generally we'd specialize in certain areas, because it's a huge area of expertise. There's 3 different classes of Druid in the sort of modern interpretation of it. And I think it's important to make a distinction between the original Druids of, a long time ago, who disappeared pretty much by 800 AD. They were gone. And then the modern Druid movements, which started about 300 years ago. So something you could trace back the whole history of it, which would take a very, very long time, which I'm not going to go through. But it disappeared really largely because of Christianity, that the Roman Catholic Church, really in particular, that sort of made its way across Europe and down into to Africa, and then across into Asia as well. And it just sort of mowed down all these religions that already were there and appropriated a lot of what the existing religions, their buildings, their rituals, etc. A lot of that got absorbed. And then sort of you end up with these, basically pagan religions mostly have died, and little bits of it have been absorbed into Christianity. And then there was a strange thing happened in the post-Renaissance period, where there was this renewed interest, probably because of the Renaissance, kick-started an interest in Greece and ancient Rome, but it also kick-started an interest in sort of Celtic lore, Celtic mythology, and the indigenous religions of Western Europe. So I suppose that's where this whole thing came back from that point in the early 1700s.
what would you say, Luke, right, where you're at in your life now? How would you define the core values that you've found in as being a druid, right? And are those core values testament to being an Irish druid, or do you find that they're the fundamentals of druidism as a whole? And if you could expand on what you think those core values are.
Okay, well, I suppose one of the things that really underpins it more than anything is a connection with the natural world. I would say I describe myself as an animist. It's quite hard to say that, isn't it?
Animist with you.
That would be the belief that the world and everything in it is animated by spirit or God or deity or the divine force of the creator, or whatever way you want to express it. But there's this spark of life, of divinity in everything, from like a little bacteria all the way up to an elephant or whatever, you know.
And is it a predefined? Is it a predefined belief, Luke? So is fate possible, or is it the mindset of everything is predestined by that higher power?
No, it's not predestination. That's something different.
Okay.
But the idea would be that in a way, everything is sacred. Everything is a sort of a fragment of the creator, if you like. That all living beings are sort of a reflection of this sort of divine creation. And so that means really that everything is connected to everything else. It's like a giant web, if you will. So that's how I very much see the world. So we've had this sort of environmental sort of awareness that's come on really in the last probably since the 60s, really. Although in some ways you could say that's been subverted, but I don't really want to go down that road. That's a very recent development. But I think there's been an awareness that sort of rational thought, like Descartes, has sort of brought us away from sort of holistic way of looking at the world. And if you look at the ancient Druidism and their connection with nature, that's sort of reflected in the modern Druid movement, which is very much sort of tied in with environmentalism. So I think really, if you call yourself a Druid, you couldn't really be down a shopping center all weekend filling your bags up with useless trinkets made in China, and you know, it's very much part of a, you know, unless you're a hypocrite, really, you're not going to be involved deeply in consumerism and all that kind of thing. You'll be trying to live a more naturalistic life, trying to be more holistic in your thinking, in the way you deal with everything, you know.
Wow. And did you find that where you are now with it, because it sounds like there is the faith journey, there's the magical journey, then there's the lifestyle and the mental approach to almost how you think now. Did you find that you have these moments where you look back on your journey and you're like, you know, I've come so far from the start? And do you ever have foresight as to where you're heading? Because I think a lot of people, especially when they're on this journey, they don't really know when there's an end point, and sometimes they get stuck, if you will. Have you ever had that feeling where you've been stuck and needed to be sort of guided back onto your path, if you will? And I know that was about 4 questions into one. I apologize.
No, that's grand. That's no problem. Yeah, I think there is definitely a change, a development over time, you know. And I look at my own life, and I certainly have changed, but in many ways I'm exactly the same person. My core values about what I believe in and what I thought was important in life are still exactly the same. It's just, I think the way that I understand it and express it has changed. I think there's a quotation I used from T.S. Eliot about coming back to the same place and seeing it again fully for the first time. That you re-experience, it's almost like a spiral. You go back on yourself, but each time you'll further into sort of an understanding of yourself and hopefully your place within the universe, within the world. But going back to your question about did I get stuck? Well, yes, that has happened to me. I remember one time I was doing sort of the very sort of shamanic part of my training, which is called an ovate in the Druid training.
Okay.
And it's like it seemed like I was sort of channeling all this information. I was receiving a lot of sort of insights from, I don't know what you want to call it, from the spirit world or whatever. It was just overwhelmed me, and I ended up just freaking out because it was like, trying to download a million terabytes of data into a tiny little hard drive, this big, this tiny little thing, and you're like, oh, yeah, I just I can't cope with this. So I actually sort of said, right, I'm going to take a break. I actually asked that please go away and stop filling my head with all this stuff. I can't, it's overwhelming me. And I took 6 months of just not doing anything, just to give my brain a chance to recover from what was going on. It was very intense.
See, because I imagine the psychology of that, Luke, the build up to that moment, right? This moment where you're going to take that next step, and for it to be that overwhelming for you, do you think a percentage of people experience that and they'll never go back to it? Do you think that it's almost like
yeah, it's frightening. I think people have otherworldly or occult spiritual experiences that scare them so much that they never discuss it again. They don't go near it. They're terrified of anything to do with that kind of thing, with the alternative or the occult or whatever, maybe because they had a frightening experience. And it's the same thing with people that have had alien experiences. Sometimes they're so terrified they never want to talk about it ever again in their whole life. Of course they're different things, but the feeling of being overwhelmed, I imagine, is pretty much similar. And I'd say there must be people that haven't ever gone back. I mean, there's people I know of who psychic abilities who just suppressed it because they just couldn't cope with it. It was too much.
Yeah, I'm with you. So let me ask you something, because this is going on in the side chat right now, and I'm going to ask you and Beverly, and I'm going to answer the question myself, right? The Tree of Life symbology. Okay, I'm going to pull up an image here, right? Because trees are a big part of Druidism, I would imagine, sacred trees and this sort of thing. So you're probably going to get 3 different answers here. But when you look at this known image of the Tree of Life, okay, what meaning does it have for you, Luke? What does this signify to you as a symbol?
Well, this is a very modern sort of interpretation of that. But for me, what the Tree of Life symbolizes is pretty much the entire cosmos, the world, if you like. Like the roots reach down into the other world, and the trunk is sort of really where the apparent world, the middle world we live in, and the upper world you could call like the world of the gods or angels, spirits, or whatever, is the branches reaching up. It's a very old image. You get something like this in Viking mythology as well. It's you'll find it in the Greeks, and also the Bilabua is the Irish name for this sacred tree, which again is connected with these 3 realms of existence, which is a core part of certainly Irish and Welsh Druidism. And then it's not always the case with modern Druidism that they have this sort of special attachment to the number 3. Certainly in some of the more international Druid stuff, the 4 elements, earth, fire, and water, and ether or spirit in the middle would be a kind of model they work with. But in Ireland, you've got this 3-fold system, which is unique. And the tree is kind of symbolic of that. And it's like you can climb a tree, you can navigate around these 3 different realms, like going up into the branches, down the trunk, and into the roots. That's quite symbolic of navigating this sort of I suppose altered space or dimension. It's something you can do very much in what's called like astral travel or journeying. But that takes, for most people, that takes a lot of practice.
Yeah,
I do know of people who've been able to do it from like childhood, just naturally born with that ability, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Well, the reason I asked you is it is a profound symbol. The tree, the roots, the spreading, the universe. And you were touching there on all existence and Yisdril, which is the
Yeah,
Norse or the Viking terminology. It is a central point of existence and encapsulating the known realms, traveling between them, life, knowledge, all of it. And I think for people who are new to all of this and are getting into symbology and iconography and what the hell are they called? Sigils and all this kind of stuff. It's a very positive, safe symbol to be around. I feel, there's not a lot of negative connotations with the tree of life. And I always like to get people's input. And where do you land with symbols and the power of those within Druidism? Is there much focus on iconography or sigils, if you will?
Well, there would be in the modern movement. There's a symbol known as Yarwin, which is these three rays of light, and it is important. But I think there's a general thing with symbolism throughout the ancient world was incredibly important, and I think in certain circles, people who understand symbolism and they will use it and they understand the power of it. But I think a lot of that's lost on the general public. And there's countless examples of sort of rather strange logos and things that have an esoteric meaning, and people, it just goes right over people's heads and they don't understand it.
Listen, I'm all right with it staying that way, Luke. Right, I'll be honest with you. I'm part of the group of people that I'm okay with the most of the world being susceptible to symbols and all of these magical things, because it is in all of us. Okay, even if you're either full fat milk, you're semi-skimmed, or you're the 1%, right? And the 1%, you guys are the new souls. Okay, you're brand new. Welcome. You haven't had past lives to have past knowledge installed upon your DNA. You haven't gone through multiple lives to unlock things and have that residual energy. You've probably been part of the teams where you've been told that in the afterlife, it's time to cross over. Don't come back. You have to wonder if by limiting just how many old souls there are on this spinning ball in the world, if evil has been allowed to flourish because of how much residual knowledge it takes to understand the finites of what it is to observe and use the magic that is all around us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? A little pesky rascals.
It takes a while, to become adept at anything, even with the bicycle, takes a while. But then when you come to things like understanding any magical system, whether it's Druidism or Kabbalah or whatever, or Vedic culture, that takes time and a lot of application and a lot of effort. If anyone told you that it's easy to become like a druid or a shaman or even just like a regular priest, it has to go to a seminary. Well, they're lying. It does require a lot of dedication and time, and not that it's like hard as in horrible. It's actually is and should be a fulfilling and enjoyable process, but that doesn't mean it's easy.
Sure.
There's at times when it's very challenging and very difficult, and it will test you. And I think to a large extent, because if it's something that takes many years, it will eliminate people who are unsuitable over time. Because to be honest with you, there's a lot of people attracted to magic for very bizarre and wrong reasons. Like they want to be powerful, they want to be, amazing and famous, or they've got really poor motivations for wanting to get involved in it. And some of them have very poor ethics. They want to use magic to control other people or make someone fall in love with them or whatever. And I think when you have a long process, then those people generally fall by the wayside after a while when realize that it's not suddenly bang like that, and I can, I can just do whatever.
Totally. But do you know what makes me infuriated, right? Is how many people will go to the blind faith option because there wasn't fireballs and lightning and all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things. We discussed this on my daily show today. If the 1%er secret knowledge was known to everyone, we would all just worship ourselves. Okay. And there would be no mass worship. There would be no false deities. There would be no talentless superstars with no talent. And we don't understand why they're famous, because of all that energy would be lost to them now, because we would know the secrets of forward projecting positive energy, whether it's on yourself or to others. But if everyone focused on themselves or collectively on a positive outcome, it would be incredible what we could do. Now, before I hand you over, sorry, only go.
Sorry, I was going to say, I think people have to a large extent, so many people just handed over their own power to something else, either to a church of some kind, or to politics, or to like celebrities or whatever. Instead of like being in the driving seat of your own life, which is what I think we're supposed to do. And you know, whatever creator there is, whatever it's some kind of invisible thing or some weird cosmic octopus on 10 billion miles away in space, whatever it may happen to be, I don't think we were put here to just be like zombies and just follow what some idiot on the telly is telling us what to do. I think we have the capacity to think and to be sovereign in our own lives. And I think that idea is coming back, that people can take responsibility for their own life, for their own spirituality as well. And really, we're not here just to buy stuff and just be pointless consumers. I mean, a lot of people would love us to do that, not to think, just take the medicine, swallow the snake oil, and just go and buy more stuff. That's what life is all about.
Live in fear, obey and consume. Look, that is the perfect trio. Now, before I hand you over to the wonderful Beverly Rhodes, right, I just wanted to ask you very, very quickly, Luke, right? If there's anybody out here who feels this calling to nature, who feels that they might fall into the druid pigeonhole, if you will, what would be your elevator advice to a potential new follower of your path, if you will? What would be your advice? What would be the best way for people to safely dip their toe, if you will?
Okay, well, there's two things I really suggest. One would be to go and read a lot of old books, because I would say most of the books written about occultism in the last 20 to 30 years are pretty bad on average.
Okay.
I think you'll find a lot better stuff if you go back before 1990, and then the further back you go, quite often the better it is. And the other thing is, reading mythology is part of that, what I'm saying about the books, reading a lot of mythology, and find someone, either join a group or join a druid order and meet people who are like-minded, who you can learn from and learn with. Because I started out completely on my own and not really knowing, where to go. And it took me quite a while before I met people who I could share that experience with. So now we've got the internet, so it's a lot easier. You can like look up and find, there's a bunch of these people, and they might be like down the road. There could be an hour or a few hours or whatever away. But I think that really, really helps. But I think you have to be, going back to what I was saying about the books, you have to be really discerning, because there's a lot of stuff on the internet, and a lot of it is absolute, if you don't mind me saying, horseshit.
Yeah. Would you be willing to email Beverly maybe like your top 5 books for people? Just because sometimes we misinterpret how laid out guidance needs to be for some people on the internet, and I would
books
imagine
aren't really sort of druidic, what she just held up, but I can certainly give a list of. I actually did that for somebody. I did It's a website called Shepherd. I'll send you the link, and you know, I explained what these top 5 books were and why. So I'll send you that link.
That would be great.
And share, yeah.
That would be.
There's also you brought out, which I thought was particularly interesting. There was the how to save the planet, and then stop buying stuff you don't need was like number 1. The most important was, you know,
that's really important.
Stop buying everything you need. That's a really good read.
I swear there's definitely a meme video in there where we apply that to every single Temu customer in the world. Okay, because trust me. Do you know what's scary, right? And this is
I only found out what Temu is recently. I didn't know what it was until a couple of weeks ago.
This is the only side quest I'm going to do, but they've tested plastics, Luke, that have come from Temu and wished from China for children's toys, for handbags and jewelry, and they're coming back 4 times over the safe radioactive limit for humans. So imagine someone gives your kid a toy, they're playing with it, they're sticking it in their mouth, all of this, and it's got radiation leaking all over them. This is the realities of these places, allegedly. Don't sue us, Temu. Okay, Beverly Rhodes. Also, I just want to welcome Asria to the panel. I don't want to leave her down there by herself because she's too awesome to be hanging out by herself. So I've also muted you, Asria, because your volume was on. But Beverly Rhodes, take it over. Take over, please do.
One of the things I wanted to add was Luke has also created this little pocketbook, and it is really lovely in as much as it goes into karma, it goes into civilizations, the material body, time, the construct of time, and that it's a unique concept to human beings, to man, which is very true. And also it has the difference between good and evil and karma and all of these lovely things. And the best thing about it, it's a wee little book and it can fit nicely wherever you need it to be, in your car,
in your sporran,
and your sporran, yes, and wherever you need it. And there is the most beautiful sayings on the right-hand page, which goes into, you know, all some of, you know, the Buddha sayings, and it goes into all different types of sayings. So it's ever so cute. I know. Do you sell this one on your website, Luke?
Yeah, it's on my website. I think it's on some of the other sellers as well, you know. But yeah, everything I sell on my website, I sign it. So anyone who wants a signed copy, you can go to my website to get my very poorly written signature. Yeah.
Yes, it's really, really lovely, and I've read through it, and I think it has some beautiful verses in there, and it's a really nice little handbook to have and carry along with you, and it's just a quick reference. So I think I might just steal the idea. Actually, I like the handbook idea. I might just put a remote viewing one together and allow that for the new channel that we're starting later tonight.
Yeah.
So we've got quite a few. We've got quite a few questions as well. I'm just going to have a look and see which ones are specifically.
I've got a stupid one for Luke before you pick one. You pick one. So
I'll pick one. This is from Bailey. So you go ahead, and then I'll read from Bailey.
Luke, we discussed this a few weeks ago about when we think about a wizard, when you spoke about Merlin earlier, right? And it's often a depiction of the wizard with his tomb, a big book full of knowledge. He's flicking to the right page, he's summoning something, he's looking at a symbol, and he's pulling knowledge out of this book. And isn't it interesting that effectively we could replace that tomb with a mobile phone in this era? Right, where we've got this endless amount of storage space and knowledge that can be accessed and looked up. Beverly's spoken about residual energy that can be put into videos and things like this. And if you've got, say, a very gifted individual who is making a 30-second video to help you boost energy or focus in a way or whatever, do you think that we could turn these devices into a modern wizard's tomb, if you will? What are your views on because I seen you cringe as soon as I said mobile phone, right? Because I know you're a purist, right? Unless it's freaking not hand bound and carved into the nature, you ain't about it. I get it, right?
Well, technology's always been around. You could say that the stick and the stone was the earliest technology. We've always had it.
That's such a druid answer. Listen, it's okay. It's okay to be like, listen, modern technology is ruining us. I get
well,
it.
it isn't. It isn't. It's a tool. When it starts taking over and people stop thinking, that's when you got the problem. Technology of itself is not wrong. It's neither good nor bad. It's ambivalent. But when you get like I used to be able to do long division in my head. I haven't done that for a long time. I need to do it on paper now, and a lot of people have forgotten how to do it altogether. And that's thanks to the calculator, electronic calculator. I remember getting one of those when I was a kid, and so now my mental arithmetic is pretty poor.
Yeah.
And if you're leveling up with AI and everything way beyond that. So I can't. Can you remember people's mobile phone numbers? I can't because it's saved in my phone, and I'm like,
right.
Oh, I remember my phone number from when I was at school.
I can remember all the childhood phone numbers, right? All of them. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a problem here. I think there's another element that you're saying about, okay, you could put the entire knowledge of every spiritual path into a little box.
Yeah.
You know, the whole internet worth of everything and every book ever written and every commentary, every article. But there's another aspect to all this, which is this actual spiritual connection, the divine connection, if you will. You can't put that into a phone. You know, that connection of a living being with every other thing around you, with other people, with whatever the creator is. You can't put that into a mobile device. Yeah, and that's a key element that's missing.
Look, let me ask you,
everything, you know.
What's happening right now?
Well, we're talking to each other using a medium, but we're actually doing the communicating. It's not the device that's actually doing anything. It's just a conduit of your voice and my voice and all these little pixels of picture, which are us. But we're still interacting. It's just it's a tool. Technology is a tool. That's all it is. And if people start worshiping technology of itself and thinking that somehow the holy grail of life, then they're very, very much mistaken, I think. You know, it always was a tool right from the stick and stone right up to now. It's still a tool.
Yeah, I'm such a nerd. I'm such a nerd, Luke. For me, my computer monitor is the same thing wizards talk about with portals, okay? Where we've got a portal in front of us and we're connecting through it and we can exchange energy and all this stuff. So for me, it's so fascinating.
Yeah, but the portal doesn't actually do anything. You're the one, you're the operator of the portal. You're the controller. You're the, a wizard's wand doesn't do anything when it's lying on the table, does it? You put it in the hand of an adept and it becomes an amazing tool. You put that wand into the hand of an idiot and what kind of havoc will they unleash? You don't know. So I think it all comes down to us as people, how we use things and being cognizant and conscious about what we're doing and why we're doing it. You know?
Oh man, look, you and I could sit around a table in front of a fire and have ethical discussions about magic and our views because I
love doing that. I so love to sit outside under the stars with an open fire, and that's something our ancestors did like millions of years ago, and we can still do it now, although well, it's a pretty chilly outside at the moment here.
Look, we are so similar, so distant on so many things, and it would be a fascinating conversation. Your views on magic, my views on magic, and then the two of us going, well, we're quite different. Cheers. Now I'm going to be quiet now, and I promise, Beverly, side chat questions, fire away.
Right. So we've got Bailey that sent a super chat. So she's asking Luke. Is Stonehenge related to this? So I think it's the connection regarding druids and druid practices.
Well, I can give you a very short answer first, which is yes and no. Let me explain what I mean by that. The forerunners of the druids, or what some people call proto-druids, are like the ancients of, I suppose, more or less indigenous people of Britain, or they may have been uninhabited for a time during the Ice Age and everything, and then people came back as the ice retreated. So these people, developed a lot of this culture, which you find all over the world. So some of they wouldn't have called themselves druids. That would have been an evolution of these these people or their descendants that became the Druids, and they didn't build Stonehenge, but they may well have actually used Stonehenge because it was developed over many stages. You've got different sets of rings there. And I think probably in the pre-Christian era, Stonehenge was still being used by the Druids, but they didn't actually build it. It was an earlier people that actually made that. But the understanding of what it's for, the purpose of it, would have been, I think, passed down because they understood it was an astronomical and solar temple. And that knowledge from the Neolithic times was passed down, I think, to the later Druids. So they didn't build it, but the Druids were certainly connected with it. And many of the ancient sites all across Europe, and you even find stone circles like that as far away as Japan. It's a universal thing, this solar kind of ritual, if you like, that you find everywhere, all over the planet.
So some of the individuals in the chat were wanting to understand whether the Pendragons, you know, the King Arthur legends and all these other aspects, whether there was any of the Druids that were peppered in with all of those particular legends. Is there anything that you perhaps had discovered in all your writings?
Well, I suppose the biggest connection there would be the wizard or Druid Merlin, really, who appears to be more than one actual figure in the actual real. But that's very much tied in. It's really funny, the whole Arthurian mythology, because you got different layers. It's like a sort of like almost like archaeology, where you've got different time periods that you unearth in the ground. You've got the sort of pagan underpinnings of it, and then you've got all this sort of romantic stuff from the early Middle Ages going right up into the Renaissance period, and even modern interpretations like the Once and Future King, and then all these treatments you've got in film and everything. So it's a story that's been layered more and more on top of it over time. So when you strip it back down to its bare roots, it's really about really the whole story is about a sort of a warrior or sort of warrior king trying to defend the Britain from the Saxons. So he's like a hero, and Merlin is sort of tied in with that as sort of a accomplice, advisor, if you will, to Arthur and his people. And this whole thing about the round table, etc., and so much of that was added, from the 12th century onwards. But I mean, originally that myth was kind of particular to Wales, to the Welsh people, who, of course, themselves are, descended from the pre-Roman inhabitants of Britain. At one point, all of the southern Britain would have spoke basically Welsh, and then Pictish in the north, and then in the western heart of Scotland, Irish, or an Old Irish. So they've kept that alive, but then that's got grown legs of its own, the whole Arthurian myth. It's been added to embellishments from France and Brittany, and it's sort of like mutated beyond belief over a period of 1,500 years or so. So what we see of Merlin now in TV productions and whatever is just sort of like showbiz Merlin, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
No
indeed.
relation to the original character, assuming we've no definitive proof that these two different Merlins actually existed. It may be mythological, but equally they could have been real people.
But there was one, wasn't there, that went to war against Julius Caesar twice. But we're still trying to find all the historical facts and the evidence. I think there are individuals that are researching that to find out, who was this person, what were the names, etc., which is quite interesting in itself. Then we also have another question, which is Brightmore Dinosaur, who has said mistletoe is often part of the Druid ritual. So would you comment on that, please?
Yeah, that's actually true. But the main reason we know about that is actually from the Roman accounts of Gaul. I think it might be actually Julius Caesar who he wrote a book called The Gallic War, and he describes the whole campaign in Gaul. And of course, it's probably pretty biased because, like, he was the winner and he got to write the story. So, but then he portrays the Gauls and the Druids as quite formidable foes. And there's a whole bunch of Romans, Tacitus, and the Greeks before them, Posidonius, I think. Anyway, a whole bunch of philosophers and historians wrote about the ancient Druids, and that's one of the things they recall is the very careful picking of the mistletoe with a golden sickle and making sure that it doesn't touch the ground. That was very important, and that has been kind of brought forth into modern Druidism, a sort of reinterpretation of that, because we don't actually know exactly why they did it, although there are certain properties. Mistletoe actually grows on apple trees mostly, as well as oak, and it's parasitic, but it's incredibly poisonous, but it's also very medicinal as well if it's used correctly. So it's quite a unique sort of rather magical plant, and it's got this sort of strange sort of moon-like fruits, these berries, So I think you'll find a lot of symbolism in magic. It's associated with appearance and colors and particular properties of plants. For instance, like the yew tree, which seems to be almost everlasting. It can live for 3,000 odd years as a symbol of like eternity and rebirth. But actually, strangely, at the same time, the fruit of that can kill like a small child. If you took one of those, if you were like a 3 or 4-year-old and you ate one of the berries, it would probably kill you. And again, that's got medicinal properties if you know how to use it correctly. So I mean, there's a huge amount of symbolism in all these things, and I suppose for the modern mind, the mistletoe is a very much so ordinary people who know nothing about Druidism would say, "Oh yeah, mistletoe, Druids, climbing up in a tree with a sickle." And I think Asterix, the Asterix cartoons, I think they may have even had that.
Asterix for Gaul.
Yeah, I used to love that when I was a kid. They had a crazy druid in that who was like, I don't know, I didn't read it in the original French. If it was exactly, I don't know how faithful the translations are from the French, but he come across in certainly the English version as this like kind of like benevolent nutcase, So I suppose you could say that of some modern day druids.
Luckily, they're all the way up there. Luckily, those plants grow all the way up. When I've looked at them, they're very, very high up a tree, and definitely not shimmying up a tree to go and get the mistletoe.
Yeah, viewers, please don't mess around with mistletoe. It's proper deadly, right? Like no messing around. Deadly. In the same way as if you use paracetamol in the right way, super medicinal. You do it the wrong way, pretty deadly. But you will be surprised about how many of us kiss under the mistletoe every year. And my word, that is a spicy little plant. I just want to say, so beware. That's all I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
End up with very, very swollen lips if you're anywhere near them.
Yeah.
Very swollen.
Take it from a guy who stabbed a death cat mushroom in the woods and then cut up.
So, Luke, we're aware.
On you go, Bev.
Go ahead. What were you saying there?
The good thing is, Luke, we're aware that you are writing a new book, and you have written a new book, Scotia, the lost sister of Tutankhamun.
Yeah.
So we will definitely, because it's about Egypt and the movement from Egypt, etc. Yeah, 3 years, I believe.
Yeah, it did. It took a lot of work, and part of that was the fact that I'm not an Egyptologist, and I don't really know a whole lot about Spain either. And this was like out of my comfort zone because, I've read a lot of stuff about Scotland and Ireland, and I know the history of those two countries pretty well. And I've obviously studied Druidism, and I've got all these ancient books, so I didn't have to buy any of the stuff that relates to Scotland and Ireland. I had it all already. But when it came to Egypt, I thought, gosh, if I don't get this stuff right, I'm going to be absolutely pilloried. So I did have some help with that, with various people advising me and double checking my facts. And the same with the Spanish stuff. I can't speak Spanish, so I had a couple of people help me out with some of that. So, my research, pointing me in the right direction, certain books and websites and stuff. And then, I did use back to the computers. I did use technology to help me translate a lot of stuff from Spanish into English so I could actually understand it. But so I do think technology has its place. But yeah, that was really helpful. And I quite enjoyed doing this. It was a real challenge for me because it took me somewhere new that I hadn't been before. But I mean, the Scottish seemed to come up over and over again in my life somehow. And I thought, I looked to see who'd actually written books about her and her life, because there's a lot of stuff on the internet. There's stuff on, ancient origins and loads of articles about her, but no one had actually really, apart from a couple of people, I think Lorraine Evans and Ralph Ellis are the only two people I know that really went into it. And those books were written a long time ago, and so much has happened since then as well. And, they didn't really dive into the Irish texts very much in the way that I've done on some of the Scottish stuff too. And, but I mean, without their work, I probably wouldn't be sitting here now. So the people that have already done work on this, I have to thank them for that. But I think I've taken this in a slightly different direction. It's very chronological. I go from Amenhotep III right through to Tutankhamun, and what happened to Scotia, how she ended up in Ireland. And I don't live that far from where she's buried. I'm like just over an hour drive from where she slumbers in the ground along with her horse. So I mean, this was a real labor of love for me, and probably.
And the good thing is that what we will be doing is, because it's such an amazing book which arrived today, so thank you very much. And what we will do is then in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have a look at the book and then cross-reference some of the items and come up with have you on as a guest again, because I'm sure that our lovely viewers would absolutely love you to come back, because you're just a fountain of knowledge, and you're so eager, you're able to share everything, all your knowledge with everyone, and you've been so generous.
I think that's really
everything.
important.
Thank you so much.
Well, I'll tell you a little thing. I've met some very old people, and one of them, I was good friends with a druid from what they call Little Triad, these three people. And this guy, the last of them, he was like 90 odd when he died. My friend now, he's like probably pushing 80. All that knowledge that he had died with him, he didn't have anyone to pass it on to. And I think knowledge is there to be shared. It's not something that should be kept by an exclusive group of people. Obviously there's certain things you don't want to tell everyone. You don't want to tell, like, I don't know, somebody who's really daft how to operate a nuclear submarine, and they go and crash it into somewhere and blow everyone up. But, as a general principle, I think knowledge should be available for everybody to educate themselves, to become as knowledgeable as they want to be, rather than sort of keeping things hidden away. This isn't suitable for the masses. We can't let the plebs know about this. I don't like that kind of way of thinking. And I think knowledge should be shared,
Exactly.
Do you feel though, Luke, right? I don't want to sound rude, right? But I feel like you're almost a little reserved on how you put knowledge across, almost like you'd rather stay in the safe zone of historical and textbook based. because I almost feel like there's a greater knowledge within Druidism that you keep closer to your chest. I could be wrong.
Well, you're right. In fact, yeah, there are certain things that I'm not going to talk about in public to absolutely anybody. Right? I'll give you a great example about this, right? Magic can be used for both good and bad, right?
There we go.
You know, you're well aware of this. There's such a thing as what's called a Bologna stone, which I know how to use it. You can use it to curse people, you can use it to heal people, right? I could tell you now exactly what it is and where to find one and what to do with it. But you could bet tomorrow morning there'll be somebody going up there cursing their neighbor if I've just told everybody how to do it.
Do you know what, Luke?
There's a responsibility involved, I think.
That moment there was the moment for me, right? And I just want to say thank you so much for, you know, a little spiritual flex in there right at the end there, just to prove the point there. And I appreciate you doing that, because I feel like a lot of people talk about sharing of knowledge, but the real core stuff, you have to go through all those applications, doing those background checks to see who can handle the knowledge and the responsibility of it all, for sure. Because I'm telling you right now, Luke, as soon as if you were to tell everyone right now, within an hour, whatever the hell that stone was called is trending on TikTok, okay, because a whole bunch of people now are hexing a bunch of people. But I will be honest with you, that's a discussion I'd like to have for you, because I possess great responsibility, and
well,
I'm often,
I think it's very important.
I'm on what I regard as a spiritual war, no shadow of a lie, and anything that I can learn to defeat that genuine, not the dark magic users, not the selfish users, the blood spilling monsters of the world. I would love if you would bespoke me, give me something to put in my armament from you at some point, Luke.
We can have a conversation about that for sure. And it probably won't end up being on air.
No, this is
no, I don't think so.
No, this isn't content.
At least I hope not. I think
this isn't content. This is, in my eyes, I always give people the analogy, because this is a Netflix series in my head, right? So we've all just met in the inn, right? We've just discovered Luke. He's come and he's told us about these gifts, and now I'm going to go away into the woods and learn these skill sets to come back and continue on to the next episode of the series, where we kick some horrible things backside, and we can go, yes, if it wasn't for Luke and the stone I can't remember the name of, the monster would not have been defeated. This is literally in my head what my life is, Luke. It's just it's more fun to imagine it that way, because again, no fireballs. Okay, but I'm legit, and yeah, I would love to hear it now.
I think it's going to be a good one. I think there's more collaboration coming. Last question.
I got to answer
Luke.
this question. Oh yes. Gosh, yeah. Bohemian Grove has got nothing to do with Druids. That is sort of more Masonic, and that's a particular Skull and Bones Lodge. I think that's the Bohemian Grove, and you're going down some very dark stuff. I don't. Yeah,
that's listen.
You can find out all about the Bohemian Grove and the people involved, and that's a whole can of worms.
Get different kettle of fish. We just wanted to clarify that it definitely.
Yeah. And the second part is. There, what was the second part there again?
The second one. There's a second
part to that. Can you flash it back up again?
Yeah, I'm just going to go find it.
I mean, I'll be honest, right? I'll be honest.
The Burning Man.
The Burning Man. Oh, yeah. Well, you know where that came from, that whole idea. I think that's come from the film The Wicker Man, which goes back to ancient Gaul, which was the inspiration for Wicker Man. I love that film, actually. And, you know, the burning of most animals, really, goats and such like. But if you look at sacrifice, modern sacrifice is purely symbolic. You know, so there's been sacrifice in religion for forever, and it's also mutated over time. You know,
we need to point out, Luke, that there's no such thing as a unwilling sacrifice. Sacrifices throughout religions and history are willing. It is free choice. It is your offering of yourself. There's a difference between.
Well, there have been exceptions to that, but I think generally, you're right in general.
There's a difference between an offering, me showing off with a living thing how horrific I can do in as an offering to a deity, but the fundamental core of a sacrifice, whether or not that person's tricked, they're brainwashed, whatever. There's a whole bunch of evil stuff that ties in with it.
Yeah,
and I'm not
I
saying
get where you're going
sacrifices
with
are
this.
good. I'm not saying sacrifices are good, but when you look through the histories, a lot of people are shocked because they think it's a brutality thing. But a lot of it, right? I'm not saying all of it because I'm just saying, but the fundamental principle of a sacrifice is its willing free will. Because without that,
there's a lot of evidence. I mean, you mentioned the Norse stuff. Yeah, people considered it an honor to be like sacrificed.
Mangled,
you look at their bog burials. These people had their throats cut, but they had no signs of struggle, no bruising, no resistance. I think in ancient times it was, people thought they're going off to Valhalla or to Tir na Nog or wherever, and you even got a sacrifice in Christianity, where you've got this one dude that sacrificed himself for everyone, supposedly. But you've got sacrifice of various kinds, whether it's animals or even people, going back throughout religious history to the year dot. I think there's something about giving something away that's valuable. Like if you look at, things like that famous shield, is it the Battersea Shield found in the River Thames? I mean, gosh, look at that amazing artwork, and it's covered in jewels, and it's made out of, I think it was gold, I think. Can you imagine what that would have been worth? And somebody threw that into the river to placate the god of the Thames, probably, or some water deity, probably. Giving away something of no value to you is like kind of pointless. And what could be worth about more than your own life,
And again, I just want to just so don't get us muddled here. We're not pro-sacrifice. We're not
absolutely not.
We're not pro-human sacrifice. That was just a little chat about the history and the mindset and the difference between making an offering. Okay, so when we talk about the cabal, and again, Luke, you don't have to chime in on this. This is my ramblings. When we talk about the cabal and we talk about the awful offerings that happen, and we talk about the pain, the suffering, and what goes on, because there's an awareness of what is happening in those offerings. It's very different to a brainwashed, broken individual who gives themselves over, because there's levels to darkness as there is to light. And I'm telling you, man, look, I can't wait to have offline conversations with you, because I'm telling you now, at some point, there's going to be some evil thing in front of me, and I'm going to be holding up a pebble and be going, this is all this because of Luke. This is happening. Right? I can't wait, bro. I cannot wait, my guy. I cannot wait. So, but listen.
Luke, so thank you so much, Luke, for being with us this evening on Awakening with Beverly Rhodes.
I hope people have, I haven't gone into a load of detail about not many things, but I hope people have learned something. And, it's one of those things, it takes a lot of time to explain a lot of this, I remember I got an email once from somebody that said, please tell me everything there is to know about druids and druidry. And I'm like, okay, how many years do you have?
Do you know what you should do? The next email you get like that, you should go to ChatGPT and say, can you give me a 500,000 word explanation, and then copy and paste it into the email and send it off to them. It'd be the great show. Well, listen, look, I've got a daily show that starts at 11 o'clock in the morning UK time. I would love to have you back on and talk about a whole bunch of other bits and balls. We'd love to have you back here, because I imagine as soon as this ends, you're going to go, oh, actually, next time I'm going to focus on this bit or that bit, because we want to create the Beverly Rhodes Awaken show so that we have a guest. We're learning knowledge, we're passing it on, and I'm excited to have you back, and I'm excited to talk to you offline, my G, because there's more to you than textbooks and books from the past. I'll tell you that right now, and I'm excited to learn more. So thank you for being here, Luke. Give a big Luke a whole bunch of love in the side chat, and we'll see you again, Luke. Thanks for being here.
It's deadly. Thanks a million.
Thank you so much, Luke. Thank you.
No, this next
Asria
requires no introduction at all. The wonderful in-house pink lady herself. How the hell are you? Don't worry about the show, Asria. Don't worry about the viewers. How are you? What's been going on?
Well, I'm absolutely blown away by all that amazing knowledge and wisdom from Luke. I was very much, drawn into all of that. So I can't wait for him to come back on. But no, this week has been fantastic. And especially around the alien DNA, which we'll obviously dive into in a second. But certainly there has been way more being discovered. One of the things that I would very much like to share with the viewers as well, I've been listening to our wonderful viewers and my clients in regards to, if I can share this now, around the levels of the DNA as well. So I'll mention it more a little bit later, but there's going to be offerings on my website more around with the off-world DNA, not necessarily providing that whole kind of like report, because I'm looking at different sort of pricing structures, but really the main principle of doing the 3 different levels is helping people get on that journey to start with. So discovering their DNA, because I've had lots of people going, well, I just want to know this bit and I just want to know that bit. And so yeah, a lot of that is being offered now, and I'm very much looking at the website a little bit more, because the beings that are coming forward at the moment, it blows my mind every single week of the different races that are coming forward. So, and I just want to try and share that with as many people
do you remember
as possible.
Before Christmas we talked about your development of the wait a second, unifier, right, as being like your university degree, right? And now you've graduated, you've learned how to use it all, and now it's like you're refining and it's expanding. And wouldn't you know it, we're 10 weeks into the year, and here you are now with unifier 2.0 effectively. I mean, again, forgive my crude analogies, right?
Yeah,
you know what
I would say you're right. Yeah.
And again, I'm not interviewing you, but you're too bloody fascinating. So from day one, from when you had your first profound unifying moment back then, right, when you graduated, to now, how big is the journey gap? Like, how wide is this whole, technology, capability, power? How much has it widened since day one for you?
I think it's as I said, the knowledge and the beings that are coming forward. So remember, this has been over a 3 to 4 year period when it actually started, and I was given sort of the started building the unifier or the unicorn horn, and then it's really building up. I said it started off with 25 beings that I very much spent about a year and a half identifying the DNA, and the team that I work with, the 25 beings that I work with, I could confirm them absolutely 100%. And then during those next sort of 2 or 3 years, it was working with friends, family, etc., for different people and picking up on their DNA as well. So you did have a few coming in, because remember, I mean, I think it's a few things that the wonderful Beverly has said in previous shows, that our universe is huge. We are talking about hundreds and thousands. So at the moment, of beings and galaxies, etc. So at the moment, we're really just focusing on those races, those individual races. So as I said, when I started off, there was 25. I could very much categorically say, yes, that is the DNA. Now there's more and more coming forward. So I've gone from 25 to about 42 that I can absolutely identify with more coming up.
Is there, I always try and humanize all the off-world stuff to make us easier to understand. Do you get a vibe where the initial 25 have now sort of said to their mates, hey, this girl's legit? And they're sort of like, listen, I know you were a hard convince, but look, we've been here for 3 years. Get over here, ant people. Get over here, freaking whatever. So what do you think? Because what's fascinating then is we have to assume that is an algorithmic trend. So that's how it's going to continue. You're going to have more and more, maybe beings that need more convincing. They need, you've not earned it yet, metaphorically speaking. You know what I'm saying? And once you get to that next level, they're like, oh, we can be known now. Isn't it fascinating, Asria?
I was going to say, every single week, I'm absolutely blown away. And I think with the vibrations and frequency of this earth going through this transformational time, that is very much awakening individuals, it's awakening DNAs, it's awakening energy bodies. So with all of that at the same time, because I knew that this was going to come out at some point, and I said it was just obviously coming on to here, and it's just absolutely grown legs. But I think one of the main things as well really is that, as I said, with that, earth energy really raising the vibrations, is when I tune into somebody. I said there's that if people haven't known before, it's that 3-pronged attack. So it's yourself, it's the unifier, and it's the being.
Yeah.
So it's you, it's the frequency, and it's the being. So not only do I get the unifier moving in various ways, I get a feeling myself, and then I get a vision of that particular being. So I know I very kindly shared the image of when I had the dragon the other day. That was incredible. And as I said, there's more beings coming out in the book soon as well.
2 things I want to ask you. The unifier, are we allowed to talk about what it's made of?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And is it possible, right? Because what I think what you're missing here, right, is an opportunity to put tiny unifiers on necklaces, right, and get some people tuned in, because I want to see if there's a bunch of people with tiny unifiers pointing their unifier at your big unifier, right? Definitely not making a human battery bank. Okay, it's cool. It's merch. Okay, wear it. Obey. Wear the mystical. Wear it. No, but listen. Also, I know how much you've been focused on this, because you know how much I know this, because Beverly Rhodes has spelled TikTok properly, and you have spelled it phonetically under your name. And I just want to say how focused you have been on all of this. Your brain hasn't even picked up that you're phonetically spelling. No, listen, that is going on merch now. Okay, we're going to go Asria. Follow Asria on TikTok, right? Phonetically spelled IG. Oh, look, Asria, I can sit here.
What can I say? Neurodiversity comes out again. What can I say?
Listen, you need to be neurodiverse to spot that. So listen, I could sit here, and you are one of the easiest people to derail me and fanboy over, because you're so receptive to questions, and you make everything just like, it's just amazing. But anyway, we're not here for me fanboying.
I've got to say, there's one for the oldies. We spell technology right. Yay!
No, you don't. Oh my God! You don't come on and go, this is one for the oldies. We spell technology right. What the hell are you talking about? You spelled TikTok right. You spelled TikTok
right. That's technology.
We'll give you that, Beverly. We'll give you that, because you know what I love more than anything? Beverly trying to do a mundane technology task. Like when Beverly spent 8 minutes before we went live trying to find the live, okay? Because she didn't want to ask me to do it for her. 8 seconds later, she had what she needed. Find people with her mind, no problem. Okay, go off world, no problem. Log into Facebook, and it's like you've handed her I don't even know. Anyway, listen, I could bust Beverly up all night, okay, but I don't want to fall down any more stairs. So Asria, tonight we are delving into the celebrity world of off-world DNA. I imagine you were probably going to lead on to this when you were talking about refining stuff, and I've now realized that was probably your segue into this. So why don't we pretend like I didn't interrupt you? You go back to the refining thing, and then we'll bring that up as if I knew that was the whole narrative. So let's go.
Wonderful. So with the unifier, then obviously when I'm actually using it and dialing into an individual, obviously with the person's acceptance and approval to actually read their energy, that's when we can go into the very finer details and go into the main DNA and the detected. With the celebrities, remember, we're not getting the acceptance or the approval from that individual. So in my simplistic way, the way that I sort of see it when I do it is that you have the celebrity, and you're kind of like looking from the outside. So you're kind of picking up frequencies away from them. But obviously we're doing I'm say Meghan Markle. and we're also doing Gene Hackman as well. Obviously, unfortunately, Gene Hackman has passed, so it was a little bit easier because he is already in spirit. Where obviously Megan is still.
I'm not right in thinking though. It's sort of different for you because your guides are telling you stuff as well as you. If you've got permission to peek in someone's head, you will. But I imagine if you were stood in front of me, you could pick up on things to a certain level without going inside. So I imagine there is a certain boundary of, well, if I was standing next to you, I'd pick up this sort of thing anyway. And also your guides, because if you're being handed knowledge, then it's not really that intrusive. So I just wanted to sort of point on that because a lot of people do go on about, oh, well, you shouldn't be doing that. It's against free will and all of this. Relax, okay? It's not our first rodeo, okay? Freaking invented the freaking unifier here, okay? So relax. But yeah, carry on. Sorry, I'm going to shut up. I'm so sorry.
No, thank you so much, Ron, and hopefully that was very clear to our viewers. And yeah, if we want to move on to the findings, unless there was anything else, Beverly or Ron, you would like me to cover up there.
I would probably say that Dan's ready for readings and off-world DNAs and all of that. My wonderful fiance. So if we can start freaking her out at some point, that would be great. We'll talk about that later. So we'll go in for Miss Markle first. Sorry, Miss Sussex. All right. Sorry, Miss Sussex. And I imagine I'm just doing this, right? I'm just pulling it up like this, right? I'm not ruined it all, have I? Or is this is
no, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. So obviously one of the first things that we do have to look at here is to ensure that when we're actually tuning into the individual, that we are tuning into the correct person. So we do still look for the full name at birth and the date of birth as well, which again, with celebrities, 9 times out of 10, and I go into various different sources just to check that they're all the same. That is the person's full name. As you can see, Meghan Markle was born Rachel, and we'll go on to Gene Hackman in a minute. So Meghan was really interesting in regards to starting off her reading. It was one of the first things that I picked up is it was a very prickly energy. It was very prickly. Now, I have picked up the nagas, and I will go into the beings in a second. And when I do pick up those particular beings, they do, when I'm saying I have a feeling within myself, it is slightly sort of prickly. And because they are a very distant offshoot of the reptilians, there is that sort of coldness that comes through as well. So with the nagas, this is the overall species. So we go into each of the individual races when we look at, as I said, going into more in depth, because then we can pick up on more frequencies, more energies, etc. But to myself, there we go. They're playing around already. Right. Okay. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So with the nagas, there are, I believe, between 16 and 20 different species. So I'm picking up on them as an overview. Okay, I'm not going into all the particular races within the nagas as well. They're also known as the Naginis. In some countries, they are known as the Naginis. They're really sort of situated in China, Tibet, and Malaya. Okay. But when we're actually talking about them as a race linked to the DNA, so one of the things that we pick up with when we're looking at the DNA is what are the abilities and what are the behaviors within that person that really resonates with that particular being. And the main thing that I got through with Meghan is that she could have potentially gone through down a very different path, because I believe that she's quite blissfully unaware of just the level of gifts that she has in this lifetime, having this level of DNA within her. And I mean, for an example, the nagas are very they're very clever. They're very skilled at magic, so knowing really how to work with those energies. But the main thing with them, which you'll also find in a lot of the different cultures, especially around sort of China, Tibet, etc., is that they do have a very short fuse. So they do get angry very quickly. Now, I don't really look into movie stars, pop stars, personally. So I personally don't know too much about
I'm fascinated
really,
with this.
Especially Megan. So I have heard, that she's...
I'm fascinated with this, Asria. I spent a year and a half accidentally being a royal commentator. And what you're basically saying, are these... I've Googled the Naga, and is it snakes or is it dragons? It's snakes, right? We're basically saying
snakes. Yeah,
Meghan Markle has come back as an off-world race that is a snake. And
yes,
I'm blown away that when you're talking about her temper and things like this, there's been outrage from staff because of the way she's been treated, all the rest of it. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, just I'll forget because I'll have my mind blown by another point. So I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's just you're nailing it again. You're nailing it again. It's wild.
Thank you. So no, thank you very much for confirming that then, Ron, because I said I have heard certain things in the past in regards to her temper, but the thing is that with the temper comes that energy push from that DNA. So that's when I was saying in the beginning that actually she's a lot more powerful in many different ways than that she's really not necessarily aware of. I mean, a lot of people, as I said, can really go back into sort of Tibetan mythology and Indian mythology, and there'll be a lot more information about them there. I think one of the last things that I would kind of really say about her, and I picked up on as well, and one of the images that I was shown is lots of jewels, like jewels and crystals and those types of things, and they're very good at hiding their wealth. So they like all the shiny things. Yeah.
Do you know what's mental?
It's almost as though it's kind of like, it's all mine. This is all mine.
Asria, we're talking about a woman who is, as you say, she's unaware of her powers. She managed to get the prince to leave the monarchy because, Asria, let me put this mindset to you. For some people, having anything they want isn't enough, right? Because if you're part of the royals, you get whatever you want, right? She needs the pile of gold. She needs the Scrooge McDuck water silo with the gold coins. She needs the Schmeagol Tower. So you talking about hiding I never said hiding assets. No one said hiding assets. But when we talked about this hidden wealth, right, and we talk about global cosplays that have gone on with the royals and the absolute hypocrisies that have gone on with that woman since she entered the royals' life is fascinating that she comes back as a snake. And I want to make it clear that I'm saying this and not Asria. She's lovely. Ron is saying all of this, okay? Because Asria, very lovely lady, all right? Very lovely lady. But Ron is very much making the statement that you have come back as a snake, a slithering, devious trickster. And I'm not saying all the Nagas are like that, but hey, you're a snake, Megan, and it says it all. Sorry, Nagas, right? I'm sure snakes are really cool on the off-world, but here, bit of a spicy rep. Right, I'm so sorry. Right, okay, shut up again.
I think, again, just to pick up on one last point, there is a particular planet that they come from, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce it because I don't want to completely, seeing as I've spelt TikTok wrong on my thing, I don't even want to try and pronounce where they come from, but they do live in all of the underground tunnels and things. But as soon as they come up to the surface, if they are not recognized and they do not have that attention, again, it's that power push. So it's kind of like, look at me type of energy as well.
Did you mean to say that? Did you mean to say come to the surface there, or did you mean come to this planet?
Yeah.
No, the surface, because they live, they can reside, and they have reside previously when they first came to this planet, again under all in like the underground.
Okay.
And then they come up every so often, especially like for water and things like that. But I think that's as much as I picked up on. Again, remember, this is only at a very, very high level there.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
And then you looked at Gene, didn't you? You've looked at Gene Wilder. Sorry, Gene Hackman.
Oh wow, these are all new. These are proper new to me. The Bahil tribe or Heel tribe.
The Bill
tribe.
Bill,
yeah. Look badass, Bill. Right? And Nomos. Is that right? Nomos?
Yeah,
the Nomos.
Gene was the energy that I got from him was very different. It was very light. It was almost, just a very, very light energy. But again, I just want to point out, I did have to double check, obviously, his full name at birth. And with Gene, as I've put on here as well, there was 2 main DNAs that got picked up together. It was almost as though like one was fighting against the other. I do believe that the Bill tribe was a slightly more dominant. But as I said, it's more of like a dual DNA that I've put here. So the Nomars are very much water-based. They're from Sirius B. But Sirius B is very much a water planet. I think it's something like 80%, 90% water. Where the Bills are the complete opposite. They're very, as hopefully I've worked with AI to a point where it shows a very sort of desert-like place. And then when I just did have a quick look in regards to, I think on the second page, I just have put a picture of his home that he ended up sort of retiring to when he stepped away from, I know there's a different word for Hollywood now, but I can't think what it is.
Hollywood.
Hollywood. Thank you. I couldn't think of it earlier. Yes, when he obviously realized what was going on, I believe, in Hollywood, and very much stepped away. So where he was actually living, I think in New Mexico towards the end of his life, would have felt very more, way more at home to him because of having that Bill tribe that are on those more desert-like planets. So, and I do feel that as he was more stepping away from Hollywood, that this is why kind of it had the opportunity for both of those DNAs to be activated, because not only was he away from that level of energy, but again, it was in a more serene area. And just to stay on that point of kind of like the serenity, I believe his wife was a musician of some sort. And with these beings, they've got a very, very keen ear. They've got a very keen ear into the point of like listening to music, but almost hearing music slightly differently than most people. Because remember, music has got its own vibration, has got its own frequency. So again, moving out to somewhere that's very quiet would have really helped helped him in his later life, I believe.
Here's an interesting one. I met a man on Friday called Emil, I think his name was, and oh my god, what was the point? I've completely just drawn a blank. What were you just saying there, Asria? What was the point you were just making there? I had a really relevant point.
When he was moving away and retiring into his and the DNA really activating because he was stepping away from kind of like that Hollywood energy. So he really had time to come into his own. And the music and the frequency.
That was it.
Having a wife who is.
I remember it. So he said, if you were to make a playlist of like all of your favorite songs, right? Ones that you like to sing to or you get an emotional connection to, and then look at what key all the songs are in, there's a good chance the majority will all be in one key, and that's the vibration that you're most drawn to. And I know that's, you guys are going to be like, obviously, Ron, but again, fascinating. So I'm sorry.
It is absolutely fascinating. And also, if you think about it as well, if we just have a look at, sorry, I know I'm focusing more on the Bill tribe, because again, they were very new to me when we were looking at the DNA. But they came down to earth and were around sort of Mount Kailash, if I've pronounced that correctly. So that's sort of more in sort of like the Nepal area. So again, somewhere that's very open, very obviously in these days is very tranquil as well. And one of the things I really found very, very interesting is Mount Kailash, I believe actually means crystal. So just a point of information there. And I think one of the last things that I would really add with this guy as well is technology. So again, I know I'm focusing more on the bills, and I'll cover off the nomas in a second. But with them, similar to the wonderful guest before, Luke, they step away from technology, even though they are a very technology advanced being. When that's very much so kind of like the military side, but kind of like the normal everyday person, if you like, being, didn't really kind of deal with that. And one of the things that I read later on was that he wasn't one for like mobile phones or anything like that, but that was, as I said, only afterwards. So I personally found that very very interesting. So when you start picking out what the being's like and then what the actual person is like now, that's kind of like just the similarities that I'm just trying to pick out here, because as I said, the being came up first, and then I started doing a little bit further digging afterwards. So just picking up on that technology point, because I don't believe he was one for technology or computers or anything like that, and that would have been the same as the bills there.
Well, there's a lot of secrets in crystals, though. This is the thing, Asria. Like, there's rumors that Bill Gates has a crystal that he drops in his computer, and that acts like his memory card for storing stuff on. And we've all heard of quartz watches and things like this, because they power the watches. And what you were just saying there about Mount Kailash, the name Kailash is a combination of two words, K and lash, meaning crystal or clear. So it's right there. So often when we look and misinterpret cultures who perhaps look like they are void of technology, but are a bit into the crystals, we have to wonder, Asria, right? If we're the ones that are technologically challenged, right? Because crystals are freaky. I brought a tiny one, Asria. It was crystal clear. And I swear there is maps of unknown galaxies appearing in this crystal. Okay. I'm going to bring it with me, and you're going to find who it's meant to go to, because that ain't my bag, right? But I'm happy to deliver a message. But it keeps changing. Like every week, there's new things in the crystal. That shouldn't be happening. Okay, for a start, that shouldn't be happening. And it's swirling galaxies. The newest one is up the side, where you have to turn the crystal, and this galaxy appears up the side. And I just want rid of it. So as soon as we figure out,
you have to bring it in and show us. Definitely, that sounds
it's for you.
Fascinating.
So yeah, we need to find that there's a starship somewhere where I've got the map to save the princess. Okay, someone needs to save the princess, and I've got the map. Okay, so we need to get that to it.
Too cute for words. Too cute.
Wonderful.
You call it cute. Ron deeply believes all of this. You can call it cute all you goddamn well want. This is the stuff that keeps me up at night. Okay.
So next week we are doing a review, alien DNA on Goldie Hawn and Michael Douglas.
Sweet. I mean, great.
Because both of them have transitioned, so it's much easier to undertake.
Okay, yes. So now, you read my mind there, didn't you? When I went, oh my God, why have you picked them? And then you explained it. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, because it's much easier. They've transitioned, and we can do an historical. and if necessary, we can look at their homes and we can look at that and match what it is that Asria is looking at. I mean, when Asria was picking up all of the information, particularly with the bill race and what their planet looked like, I said to her, well, why don't you just have a quick look and see what Gene Hackman's home looked like? And it was very similar. There was no grass and huge trees and things like that. And his home was very similar to the DNA that had become awakened within him, because that's where he was comfortable. That's where his soul felt at home.
Yeah. Well, Asria, I had a pretty profound moment last week on the show, right? Because, you know, I'm on my journey, right? But I'm a bit of an oddity, right? I like to make things hard for myself. I'd much rather learn in the deep end, right? Because, you know, why not? So I started doing my cards in the way that I do them last week. And at the end of, almost towards the end of the night, in fact, Beverly had just left. And we had a lady who's with us tonight. Her name is Kiwi. Here she is here. And she said, I'm a bit of a skeptic, right? And it was almost like I got up my own backside for a second. And I was like, okay, we'll try and change it. We'll try and change your mind. So this is what I would imagine is called a cold, like, I know nothing about this person. Name, age, nothing. I know nothing. Okay. So I went to the coin, first of all, and I was like, is this about money? No. Is it about personal relationship? No. Is it about family? Yes. Okay. So I then went to my dark deck of cards and pulled out a card that was Parasite. And I was overwhelmed with this feeling of being rejected and having this stigma put on you. And that was exactly what happened to Kiwi, right? And it was almost to a point. And it was a massive moment for me, right? Because I went with the feeling, and I interpret the cards so differently, because people in the side chat were like, oh, that's not what Parasite means. That's not. So I need to explain to everyone. Ron's a bit of a dum-dum. So sometimes the cards have to be real obvious and blatant with me. And we pulled another card, and that card had beloved on it. It had 3 sets of flowers, and she has 3 children that taught her how to love again, who are all named after flowers. Right? Like, you're all sitting there, Cam. I'm freaking out last week, Asria. I am freaking out, right? Freaking out. Because it was one of those moments where I can't do any more readings now because I won't be focused on it. I literally called my mum as soon as the stream ended. It was one of those mega moments for me. And what was it like for you when you had your first moment like that? Because we all have moments that clarify and solidify. And it's almost like when that happens, the metaphorical paving stones of our journey appear and we take those steps forward, right? Can you remember a profound moment like that for you before? Because Ron's getting to the cards. We're not escaping it, ladies. Ron's doing a couple of readings, so don't worry. Ron makes me cry 3 times. That's another thing. I apologize. Everyone ends up like that. Can you think of one profound moment that stands out for you, Asria?
Throughout my life, there has been several. In regards to the Unify work, was a session that I had where I was greeted and met. It makes me shiver each time. Woo. Yeah, I met all of my 25, just literally in one circle. I went into a meditation, and it was like, I'm home. I'm absolutely home. I get tearful every time.
See, that's quite a profound moment for you. That is a rare thing for us to hear about because of how far down the journey it took to get to there. I mean, we're talking about developing your own skill set, right? You are like a pioneer in this. Let's stop faffing about, okay? Like, if this becomes a proper mega thing, you're looking at the founder of it, okay? And she's lovely and has pink hair. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm excited because it's so different, right? Talking to you now than when we first met. right? You've so, and I this is I'm like, listen, I'm not anybody to be saying anything, but you are so much more badass in it all, right? Because you've had this gratification of it, okay? The public gratification, peers, whatever. But man, you are a freaking badass now. Like there is a new aura around you of "come at me, brah," that oozes from you. I'm here for it, man. I'm here for the badass chapter of Asria, man. I can't wait till somebody gets spiritually ass kicked by you, and they're like, "Oh, the one with the pink hair kicked my ass." Oh, God damn it! Didn't even see her coming.
Oh, I've done that before as well. There's a few, there's a few butts I've kicked as well, and right back to where they belong. So, to have that confirmed, thank you.
Yeah, and again, I'm just.
I don't know. Yes, I've shared one or two of those stories before. So yes, but certainly with the Unify work and just the amazing works I've been doing with some of the listeners and my clients, and the feedback that I've got from them as well is always it just fills my heart every single time with when I present the report to that person. They go, yes, that's me, yes, that's what I'm going to do, that I wonder why I've been so different all my life, and now I know why. Whether they're 20 or I had a lady the other day who was 75.
You can ask these 25 people questions, right? And people that are off-world as your guides, right? You can ask them questions. Ask them how long they were screaming at you and you weren't paying any attention. Like, was there a bunch of them that were like, no, this is the one, and half of them, because who were the purists out of the 25? Who were the ones that stuck with you when you had no concept of this and were trying to get the knowledge to you? That's who we want to single out. They're the ones on the Christmas card list. But can we stop talking about this so flippantly, right? You are connecting people with a new form of mystical knowledge, right? From a freaking thing that looks like a unicorn horn that you've developed yourself, and it's all working, right? All working. Do you know what will be really depressing, right? If this doesn't become new knowledge, and one day, like, one of your ancestors picks up the unifier and is like, oh, I don't know what this is, and it gets papped on a Christmas tree as a decoration. Right? I'm just saying, okay, this is something you need to stop messing about. You need to get books written. You need to get
the book is on its way. The book is
I don't want to hear excuses anymore, Asria. We need the little tiny unifier. We need to experiment.
I've been a bit busy.
We need to experiment with collective unification. Oh, I'm making up whole things here. So if you imagine, if everyone has got an off-worlder screaming at them, right, and everyone adopts a tiny unifier, and you're in the center with the bad boy, and we're around you, and there's guides that are linked to us that you may never have heard of, that come forward and say, hi, Asria, by the way, we've been brought here because that guy's got ginger hair and a goatee, or, that woman over there's got asthma, and unless you got asthma, the asthma off-worlders ain't going to talk to you. Is it not fascinating to just to experiment with that? Is it not fascinating, Asria? Oh,
always open to new ideas, definitely.
It's so exciting.
Yes,
it's so
as I said, certainly with all the different beings that are coming through, it's incredible. So,
do you know what?
Watch this space, guys. Definitely.
1,000 years from now, there's going to be temples with this pink-haired founder of the unifier, right? And we're all going to be like, that was freaking Asria, mate. Just telling you now, I can't wait. Do you know what, Bev? Do some remote viewing and go and find the Temple of Asria in whatever future it is, because we need this, and keep doing it till you find it, so we know that it's kicked off and the ball's rolling. Right, Ron is on fire. Okay, so listen, we're gonna do some cards, right?
So let's not forget. Let me just remind everyone before you do any cards, and we'll obviously thank our lovely Asria for being here tonight with us.
You need to stay here. Don't go anywhere. You stay here.
I need to thank her. I need to thank her because obviously I'm going across to the Remote Viewing Alliance show and starting to send out the target information, which is 858903, so that energy is there. So all that wish to participate with it in the next show can come and join us there and participate. So while you're doing this, It will be very good.
Yes.
Come and have some fun and test your own extrasensory perception.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes,
I'll have it
enjoy.
set up anyway. So what I need you to do though is if you start bang on 9:30, Bev, right?
Yep.
And let it run for a couple of minutes. I'll end this and it will shunt everybody over. I'll set that up now.
And you'll move across, because I know some of the individuals in the chat are saying, please, 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 could we participate as well? And that means that everybody can just be moved over. So it's a very simple target. It's not a difficult target. It is a blind target, obviously, because not everybody knows what it is. And the number that's associated with it is number 858903. So that information has been put in the chat, and it will also be on the screen in the Remote Viewing Alliance. I will also be remote viewing Gene Hackman. I've done a couple of images around his energy bodies and showing what he looks like, and also some of the transitioning. So come and join us in the next show, and I will see everybody a little bit later. So bye for now from me. Bye.
My mic's off. There we go. All right. So let me just chuck better than that. So Asria. So I'm not going to lie. My journey with the cards has been an interesting one because I get frustrated with imbalance, right? And a lot of the cards that are Oracle decks are very geared towards the light and the positivity, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all, because most people want good advice for moving forward, and that's a lot of the Oracle cards is about moving forward. But for me, I believe there's a root cause for the problem people need to move away from. So I got this deck called the Dark Mirror deck, which I use as my negative conduit to find that issue, if you will. And then I've got a neutral deck called Earth and Bone, okay, that I draw the cards for solutions for moving forward. And if we need to, we go to the crows about the person. Okay, so not so much the journey or the action, but the inner change that could be necessary. Because that's the only way it makes sense to me, right? Like if we're doing readings off the cuff on the internet, right? On the internet like this, like I need to be able to find what it is that the problem is and help people move forward from it. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'd like to do is hopefully not make a complete idiot of myself and try this evening. If you would like to be one of Ron's guinea pigs, okay, I would like a reading, okay, and don't leave the room, okay, because we don't have a lot of time. And it's not about who gets there first or anything like that. It's about what I'm drawn to. That's another thing, Asria, right? I struggle with not being led to the person as opposed to the person asking me for something. Like if they come to me and ask out the blue, I find it harder than if a collective group puts their hands up and says, I'd like a reading, and I'm drawn to one of them. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think if it's for the individual, it's being able to tune into that person's energy. Absolutely.
Okay. So already Infinity Symbol drawn me in on Vishnu. Wonderful flower. Let's go with that. So I think because it's the first reading. In fact, nah, we're not going easy. We're going deep end. So Vishnu, I'm going to see if we can identify an issue, a problem that if you get past that, could be of benefit to you. Now, again, I apologize if all of this is a bit all over the place. And I apologize if this is completely inaccurate. All right, but I'm learning.
Ron, I think one of the main things, and one of the main a couple of bits of advice, knowledge, if you don't mind me sharing here, is just before you start with the wonderful Vishnu's reading, is first it's all about timing. So it's it's just taking that time. And I know with obviously being neurodiverse as well, sometimes the words want to come out before you've even kind of processed them. So with me, it's after every card, just taking that breath. The next thing is your intuition. So, and I know what between yourself and Beverly and over the past few weeks, that's been discussed. So it's as soon as it comes in, it goes out. So as soon as that message comes in, it goes out. It's not so much focusing on what the card is saying. It's listening to the intuition 100%. And then the card. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, it's lavender. If when I'm slipping. So it's the opposite for me. The intuition comes first, and it's almost like I blur it out, and then I start analyzing. So let me try and adjust. So Vishnu, just give me a second. Oh wow, Vishnu. Revenge, Vishnu. Okay, a great wronging that has occurred, whether or not. Hang on. Vengeance has been bestowed upon you, right? In some shape or form. Hang on a minute. But it wasn't necessarily your fault. A wrongdoing, perhaps? Hang on. Not mistaken of the person, but number 23. An vengeful act, okay? Now, does that make any sense, first of all, Vishnu? A vengeful act that has occurred, that has affected you, or an act that you want, is it you? You feel vengeful. Are you torn because of a great wrongdoing that's been done to you, and you're consumed with a want for revenge? Let me know if either of that makes sense.
Ron, if I could just interrupt, lovely. I'm just going to take a nice break before moving over to Beverly's wonderful remote viewing. So I'm just going to take a break myself, if that's all right, lovely. But yes, Vishnu, very much enjoy the reading, and thank you again, Ron, for having me on, lovely. And I look forward to speaking with you soon.
Not that I know of. Okay, so Ron is going to go into more cards because. Thank you, Asria. Okay. Not that you know of. Is this a warning then? Just bear with me, everybody. Bear with me, Vishnu. Again, I'm very new to all this. In fact, if we're totally off the mark, let's see what the card's interpretation of this was and see if it's more about the actual meaning of the card and less about the interpretation. Sorry, everyone. Ron's on a mission here. Okay. What if there was a place where there is no more time for words, no more sense to bargain or negotiate, no more survival instinct to accept fear and ponder consequences? It's a place we can reach at a limit of our abuse, with the last spark of our dignity surging up as a powerful black flame. We cry, we hurt, we strike to destroy. We destroy not for ourselves, because we are gone. We destroy for the fairness of the world. We destroy because it is there there is no sweet justice. Is there something in your life where you stand for others? Do you work to defend the rights of others in some way? Is it other people's issues? Let me just try. There is no going back, because coming back requires much more than force. Yes. Okay. All right. So it was the actual meaning of the card. Right. Wicked. We're not losing our freaking mind. Okay. Don't give me any more. Interesting. And this thing that you do, it's your purpose, and it's all encompassing. All encompassing. 22, 23. Okay. 22 and 23. We're going to go with the full-on meaning of this next card as well. But just bear with me. This is interesting. I mean, maybe not for you guys, but this is fascinating for me. So this was the next card, right? Which was about you, the person. Okay. And it was the Enchanter, number 22. You are here to teach the art of authenticity, but first must find and follow it for yourself. Give others a reason to be true to themselves. You are learning love unconditionally. You do this by accepting everyone's fault. No one is perfect. No one is better than anyone else. No one is more important than anyone else. No one ideas or opinions are better or more right. By learning how to completely love yourself, others will follow suit. You're in your learning phase. You are removing fears and obstacles. This is what you will share and others with others, and teach them about their own lives and what is on the other side. Wow. You have so much love to give. Give it freely. Your purpose is to explore every multifaceted channel of your existence and learn everything you can possibly learn before returning home. Help raise awareness and bring healing to many people. You are saddened because they are experiencing exactly what you are. Saddened because they are experiencing exactly what you are. Suppression and fear to be true to themselves. All you will have to do is share your story, and it will change lives. In the meantime, learn as much as you can and experience exactly what you want. Do what you love, and it will lead you. Whether you need whether this is mad. Like the feeling. Like it's a feeling of safety, salvation, and it's like people coming to you for all you have to share is your story. Do what you love, and it will lead you where you need to go. Spirit of the universe is always at your back. You will always have enough. So, are you doing something that helps people treat wrongdoings in their life, that since you found that path, it has become your purpose, right? One more, and then you can fill us in on if this is all right. And we're going to assume that this is all about, and this is about something you've decided about moving forward. Ghosts. Ghosts is the card. Number 20. Number 21, any relevance to you? The missing number. So this card here. Shadows of the past, let them visit, but don't let them stay. They no longer hold substance in your world. And if they linger too long, they may become trapped in your psyche. Have you ever found yourself having an argument with someone who wasn't even in the room? The arguments play out in your head. The situation that brought about the feelings and emotions that led to this internal disagreement is a ghost. Like a ghost repeating a pattern and walking through a room it has done each night since its human form passed. It is stuck in the moment and in time. There is nothing that can be said or done that will change what occurred. Ghosts ask that you examine your feelings regarding the past events. You are able to find acceptance and move forward into healing. You are unable to forgive or seek forgiveness, allowing old wounds of the past to remain open. Pay attention to when ghosts appear. They may indicate a source block, and it might be time for an exorcism. Damn! I am charged up right now. Right. Vishnu. Any significance to the numbers 23, 22, and 20? Obviously, we managed to identify that we were going for the cards wanted that all to be read. They didn't want my interpretation of nothing. Can you break down anything that resonated there, please, if possible? 23 is a birthday of one of my daughters. Well, that was on the card for revenge. Was there any, again, that's okay. It's nothing to do with the card. But the next card was 22, and the following card was 20. It's just an interesting set of numbers. So are you able to talk a little bit about what it is you do or anything like that? Anything else that resonated at all? It's interesting. 9:30, 20 minutes, 15 minutes. Yes. Okay, sweet. That's so interesting that last week it was all about my interpretation, and this first reading anyway, it's so literal. Well, not literal. It was the cards already had the meaning. You know, I think, by the way, I've always had a thing with numbers. Okay. Well, look, I think that's a good place to give us some feedback on that. Oh my God. And let us know. Name of the deck. I'm using 3 decks. We're using Dark Mirror, Earth and Bone, Urban Crow, all on Amazon. Mystical. Not in the sense of myths, though. Oh, maths. Maths. You were going for maths. Nailed it. Okay. All right. I'm going to pick someone else. Vishnu, let me know. Because I always feel a little bit disappointed when it's the cards. You know, it's not disappointed if it means something to you and you got something from it. But it was very disconnected for me. It was like I was just here to do the cards bidding, and that's okay. For everyone being treated right. Awesome. Okay, let's see. Can I pull a card and see if my career will change direction? Work with children, end up working with neurodivergent. Brilliant. It's so cool, man. This whole thing is it fascinates me. All right, so let me see. How would I approach something like this? Can you pull a card to see if my career will change direction? How about I make it really easy for you? right? And we go, are you ready to change careers? You're not ready to change careers. Why are you not ready? What is holding you back from changing careers? Well, that was fast. Have you not found anything you care about? Are you just unfulfilled to the max? Are you living one of these existences where you have to fake? Are you just going through the motions? Are you looking for direction? Is that what this is about? Is it a deeper thing than a career thing? Is it a haven't found my purpose yet sort of thing? Oh. Let me know, Serenity Overflow. I'm talking to you. Okay, relax, cards, relax. Okay. Pulled into aerospace, forced. So your heart's not really in it, right? Like, because the card that was drawn on what's holding you back is artificial heart. So my interpretation of that is you're unfulfilled, right? Okay. So it's simple, right? You need to learn what it is to self-discover, I think. I think when you're told and you're conditioned to go down one road and we realize we're unfulfilled by it, you need to look at, for a start, the life it can provide for you for initially, and look at if you can be fulfilled from a different angle. Perhaps looking into yourself. Hang on a second. Yeah, okay, you're one of these inward people. So ask yourself, wherever it is you find serenity, go and sit down, maybe get a little pad and paper and start imagining what makes you happy and write it down. Start asking for signs, because I think what's super exciting for you is you've realized this now, and you can use this unfulfilled life as almost a tool, a conduit to guarantee stability whilst you're on this pilgrimage of knowledge. And wouldn't you know it, you need to just, healing is your passion. Okay, let's fixate on that. In fact, we don't need to fixate on that because it's come up as the apprentice. Okay. And if you've already got that note in your head about healing, higher education, belief, and wisdom. Okay, we have a depiction of a woman with the moon at her back and the number 4. So really, you should just be focusing on what you already know. That's what you should be focused on. The healing. Is it maybe you know what you want to do healing wise, but is it maybe on what level you're concerned about? Wow, I am a life path 4. I have no idea what that means. Let me see what you can do to solidify your own conviction here. The moon is deceptive. Okay. Okay. So we just got a popper here, which was preparation, which ties in with apprentice. You don't need me to answer anything for you, man. I'm glad if maybe that validates you. But you already know. You've got the answers already in you, and you know exactly the path you should be on. It's just now time to do it. I'm not saying quit your job, but it's time to get on that path. It's time to redefine what you believe is the meaning of yourself. Redefine yourself in your own way. That makes sense? Oh my God. That makes sense? All right. Yeah, you can rewatch it, mate, of course. Oh, here we go. Redefine makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think for you, you need to believe in who you are going to be. That's it. That's your final hurdle. I think as long as you're convinced of it and you believe that you are this new version, everyone else will realize that in seconds. Give me a second, everyone. Oh, man. Which new gave feedback. Okay. Ron, just remember a family member do me wrong a few years ago, but don't seek revenge. More distance completely from this person. That could let you know if that. Yeah, it could have been because it was a very strong revenge card. I mean, don't get me wrong. It definitely makes sense, but it could be a secondary level thing. Don't know. But hey, it ties in, right? It ties in. Sorry, I just had an overwhelming like dump of energy, and it's like, have any? Do you ever feel what it's like to carb out at the gym, where you just all energy goes, your stomach turns, you feel like you're going to throw up, and you just have to sort of calm yourself for a minute. I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm good. It's good. Like sometimes for me to realize we're onto something, I need refocused. And this very much refocuses me now. Serenity, there's something else, right? There's something else. Like loneliness, like were you ever like a boarding school or anything like that, or sent somewhere? Don't know if that makes sense. Anyway, my waffling pish. Where's the card? It's weird. Correct, but really deep. It's horrible. No boarding school. The only reason I said boarding school was it's like a sense of loneliness and isolation, but I feel like it's like like when you were young, like teeny. Teenage years, maybe. I don't know. It's weird though, man. It's like I'm trying to move on from this and it keeps pulling me back to this. Is this something that is a deeper root of problems that you don't talk about? You don't have to mention what it is, but is this a bigger problem than your career path. Oh man, here we freaking go again. Oh no, why? All right, okay. Oh God, right. Okay. We're in this together now, mate. We're freaking in this together now, mate. Right, I need to be very careful with this next part. Did you spend many, many years obsessed with righting a wrong? Panic. There's a lot of panic. Panic. No, that when this is going to be over in a couple of minutes, and then you'll all be shunted over. Panic, revenge, stench. I don't know. I remember what the question was. Serenity. Do me a favor. No revenge. Now, what did revenge mean in that booklet? And then, give me a second. About it's not fair. It's not fair. It's not it's the other meaning of this card. It's not fair. It's not fair. All right. On my website, there is a link to a page called The Movement that has a link to one of my servers. If you could go there and click on that link and then let one of the mods know, I'll show you. If you go here and scroll down and then go here and then click on this. But yeah, before you go, let me know if the I'm not fair. And then what the hell was the other thing? It's not fair. What the hell was this one? Was this me talking about betrayal? No, wait, what was that saying? Your interpretation of love for so long was muddied by all of this, right? I'm going to leave it at that, but let me know. Oh, hell yeah. All right. And can I ask, have you found love now and your work was a distraction from that for so long, you're now just realizing you should be on a correct path? Probably not. That's maybe a stretch. That's maybe a stretch. Let's go. All right. Okay, listen. Mad. We're going to jump over to the next show now. Join the server. Part true. Okay. Join that server. I want to know what the part true is. Or type it out here and I'll catch it at the end. I need to know what the part true is. Okay. Let's go. Next, I'll see you over on the next live stream, everyone. Like and share. Do all that good stuff. That was wild. I love you guys. You're all freaking awesome.